to the Board of Directors meeting of the Towers of Key Biscayne. Today is Monday, November 30th, 2015, and we're going to begin with the roll call.
Mr. Pinilla,
Here.
Miss Owen,
Here.
Mr. Necht,
Here.
Dr. Dominguez.
And we have a quorum. I think Ms. Rosenblum is traveling, Mr. Perez is traveling, Mr. Lopez is sick. The next item is, we have the determination of quorum, and the next item is the adoption of budget 2016. Before we do the adoption, I want to address some questions that came from Mr. Mom on an email. And I'm going to ask Mr. Maura to respond to your comments and questions.
I think that is, Francine's gonna be the one making the.
Francine's going to do it. Let me just say that we only have two items. One is the adoption of the budget that we will adopt after we answer the questions that Mr. Mom had and some of the other people may have. And then we're going to have an open forum. So anything that doesn't pertain to the budget, at this time, let's wait until we have the open forum. Okay, Francine. Could you state the comments or the questions that Mr. Mom sent us and then give us the answer?
My understanding of the questions that Mr. Mum had was the projected operations for 2015 for repairs and supplies are roughly $676,000 for 2015. Yet the budget from 2015 to 2016 is only increasing 4.6% versus the 46% that we've gone over in 2015. And the answer to that question is actually two parts. The first part is that there are a number of expenditures that are budgeted for 2015 that are non-recurring items that we do not anticipate will occur again in 2016. One of them is the backflow repair and replacement for $66,000. The engineering equipment and supplies, we're budgeting $150,000, even though we're only budgeting $50,000 for 2016. There's fencing of the watercraft area at a cost of $18,000 that will not reoccur. Furniture reupholstering at $10,000. Plumbing and HVAC repairs, we're anticipating spending $180,000 in 2015. We do not anticipate that this will occur again in 2016. Roof repairs are significantly higher in 2015, and we do not, again, although we have increased the budget for the next year, we do not anticipate spending that much this year. And last but not least is the trench drain cleaning, which we anticipate spending $32,600 this year that will not reoccur again in the following year. So there are a number of expenditures in this year that we are doing this year because there have been savings in other areas of the budget that allow us to do those repairs this year that will not reoccur in 2016. Therefore, the manager feels that the budget for repairs and supplies for 2016 is sufficient to meet the needs of what he anticipates will occur in the following year. Yes, ma'am.
Can you clarify what is specifically the backflow repair replacement?
I'm an accountant, so I'll let Joe answer that because I have absolutely no idea what the backflow repair replacement is.
The backflow is, it's like a flapper that will probably be installed in the drains on the lower garage in order to prevent the water from the bay to come into the lower garage.
We didn't have that before?
Excuse me?
We didn't have inside the drains that before?
They are there, but they're not working.
But they're changing that?
Changing
Yes, what do you say, $32,000?
is.
It's 66.
The backflow is the changing of the backflow, adding two more and replacing some pipes that are broken.
And that is apart from the $750,000 repair?
Never did we mention 750,000.
In last meeting,
Five-
in the reserves.
We allocated $500,000 in the reserve for that. 750? I'm sorry, 750. Yeah, that's George correct me.
750, that's,
Yeah, George just correct me.
so that
No. The backflow is to prevent the water from coming in. The $750,000 is an allocation for several items. One of them is to replacing of the entire drainage system that we have in the lower garage. Besides that, we may be needing some wells, injecting wells, that would have to be added to the property. Okay, so that's the allocation of those $750,000. Not necessarily we are saying that $750,000 will be spent on that particular item. It may be less, but I mean, we are looking at a big number there. Because all the drains will be replaced, and we have to add additional drains, because there's a lot of areas within the garage that when we have water rises, water does not drain because there are no drains nearby. So we have to add quite a few drains into the floor. I'm sorry?
Why they don't have any drain?
Excuse me?
Why you say we don't have any drain?
Because there are areas that we don't have any drains nearby.
Nearby. You mean they built this place and they didn't build a drain so
I have no idea. There are no drains there at the moment.
they didn't have any bugs or anything underneath yet?
Yeah, the backflows were, but they didn't work, that's why the water came in.
What do you mean they didn't work? They still
They
have
didn't work, and the water, salted water came in, that's why I understood of last meeting, and it broke on the drain.
It corroded the pipes.
Well, wasn't somebody paying attention to that it wasn't working? The building is old. I don't care how old the building is.
Okay,
Okay,
let's say,
okay,
let's, one at a time, so we cannot understand each other. You have a question here, Mr. Mon. I'm sorry, you go next.
Who shall address the question to yourself?
I'm sorry?
No, who should I address the question to?
We'll just
I don't
address
know.
it
Just,
general.
just give the question, and so we can,
The question I posed was that the 300,000 over expenditure in the supplies and maintenance area, was that, so what you're saying was it was strictly because of unexpected expenditure, not a transfer of some funds from one.
Correct.
No, it's a non-recurring expense.
Okay, but despite that, we still came in, or your projection to come in $4,000 under budget,
Correct.
okay? Which means to say you've offset that 300,000.
By savings in other areas, particularly insurance.
Okay. Now, I'm surprised, first of all, that we were surprised to begin with. But secondly, are we sure that the 300,000 that we put in for this year, or for next year rather, is adequate?
My understanding from conversations I've had with Joe and with other members of the board is that they feel that it will be, because a lot of the major projects are being funded through reserves, not through the operating budget.
Or is that okay?
okay.
Yes, sir.
Bertie McGowan, I'm in F-1206. This backflow is being mentioned for the first time at this meeting. It was not mentioned last time. This is called a backflow preventer. I first learned about this in one of the meetings that I've been having with the stormwater utility and sewer representative for the village of Key Biscayne. He explained to me that the 24-inch pipe that we have here needs a backflow preventer, and that is going to stop the water from, at high tide, from coming in and giving these geysers that we see shooting in there, okay? We talked about the need for replacing the piping. He said that's not gonna do anything. He's offered to come and speak to the board after the 4th of December. His name is Jose Lopez.
Yeah,
There's nobody here who knows more about this particular type of problem than this man.
Yeah.
And the engineering company, I have their report here. It's called EAC Consulting.
okay.
If you're interested in really getting a copy,
Sure.
I'm sure
We-
you'll find that.
Sure, Dr. McGowan, Mrs. McGowan have sent me a message earlier in the week, and that I have discussed it with our property manager, and in the open forum, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So,
Well,
we will talk about it at the open forum.
The thing is, it's very important that we talk about it now, because we're talking about huge amount of money.
No, I agree with,
Huge amount of money.
I agree with you.
With Was that bid out?
Not yet. Let us discuss it at the open forum. It will be after we finish with the budget tonight.
The backflow also was discussed by one of the members of the staff who said they couldn't put it in, and the reason was because it was on state land. I told Mr. Lopez that. He says, it goes out to the bay, or out to the canal. You go across Crandon Boulevard, you don't go into state land, and you put it on our property here, and it's gonna cost less than $20,000.
Good. Well, let us go further into that after we finish with the budget. Thank you very much. Any other questions? You have a question?
Yes, the salaries for next year are raised, the employees' salaries,
I'm sure some have. You want to answer that question, Mr. Mauer?
Well, what is the question?
He wants to know if there are raises for the employees.
Are there raises scheduled for next year?
Yes.
Yes, there is,
how much?
4%.
Well, but, for example, in the office is $80,000 more, in security, $80,000 more. The increase is huge in many places.
No, it's not just,
No, but listen, the difference is, we are putting 7 more employees, seven more employees in a building that we have to do a lot of repairs, and we are raising salaries, and it's for every area. It's, in housekeeping is $70,000 more. It's huge.
well, there are several things. There are new employees that are required and employees that would be given a raise, so.
And why are we?
Well, I think people give raise because they're,
No, why we need more, 7 more employees?
well, I think that we have discussed that, but Mr. Mara, could you go over the employees and the need for them?
Right, that's, the 7 employees that we're adding. The main reason why we're adding the employees, with the exception of the beach. I'm sorry? Could you hear me now? Okay. The seven positions that are being added, with the exception of the beach, which is a new position, and I would address each of them. The beach, the main reason why we're adding a beach position is because of the demand. The residents, when they go to the beach, they want service. They want the lounges to be brought to them, because where we currently have the lounges now is very hard. They also are asking, they've been asking for the past couple of years for more umbrellas. And in order to provide that type of service, we need a person there. The employees in the pool are not able to be going back and forth and providing service at the pool and at the beach at the same time. So that's one of the employees. Allow me to finish with everything, and then I will be more than glad to take any questions. The housekeeping department, we're adding 1 employee to the housekeeping department, and the reason for that is that the housekeeping department works extra hours besides the 9 to 5 hours. But based on the demand that we are getting from residents, we're having more residents now than we have had, not only this year or the year before, our demands have increased quite a lot. It didn't happen overnight. And we have been taking the load for the longest time and carrying it, and it gets to the point that the balloon is going to explode, and it has reached that point. So that's one of the reasons why we need to have an additional person stay here now until 8 o'clock and come in at 7 o'clock in the morning, because we have more people using the hallways, going and throwing trash and leaving the trash in the trash chute. We have to go ahead and clean the rooms, because all the rooms are open. We got to go ahead and clean the elevators, the upper and lower garage. It's quite a lot of other things that we got to do that we cannot do anymore with the amount of employees that we have. And the reason for that is the demand that has increased in this building. The other one is in the receiving department. The receiving department, everybody wanted to go with technology, and everybody likes to order stuff through the internet. And actually, our packages have increased. George is not here. Our packages have almost double for what we used to have a couple of years ago. So we can no longer continue to delivering packages, and we have no room to keep the packages in the receiving department or in the lobby area. We are running out of time. People are calling, "Where's my package? I want to pick up the package. Where could I pick it up?" We only have so many hours. We used to have an employee that used to help there occasionally. He can no longer do it because he has too much work in the housekeeping department. So that's one of the reasons why we added that employee. The other employee that is getting...
And you increased the hours as well. did you?
Yeah, we extended the hours. Actually, I think it's Saturday that he's open now, and he's here now until 8 o'clock at night.
No,
Allow
we're
me to
waiting
finish
till
with
the-
everything, please. Okay, the other employee that is getting added is George is leaving the office. George is going to the receiving department where he's going to be doing his project manager job, and the office will need to refill that position that is currently at the office. In the maintenance department, we're adding 2 employees, and the reason why we're adding 2 employees is because in order to maintain the building, especially painting the hallways, painting the staircase, painting the railings, painting the doors, we can no longer do it with 1 employee. Even 3 employees is still very hard to do. So that's one of the reasons why we're adding the additional employees that we are needed. And the other employee that is getting added is a security rover. We only have 1 rover for both buildings. We're adding another rover in order to be able to fulfill the need of the residents. And that is basically what it is.
Okay, yes, sir.
$400,000 or more is this, what he says. And what I see in my experience, and I experience a lot in flowers, the housekeeping, I don't see that much. I don't see that much. If you try to make some different organization for the pool area, or for the packages, or for something, you don't have to raise $400,000. It's a lot of money, and we have a lot of projects. We have a lot of problems and a lot of inefficiencies. You know, about the parking spaces, about the credit cards, and what we talked all this year. And now we're spending more money, $400,000. If you have $5 million or $5.5 million budget, it's a lot of money, $400,000. Putting more people, raising salaries, and we are not good.
Well, I can tell you, I respect your opinion. We have a lot of people in this building with different expectations. Some people that live here want to have more services. So, and more people like yourself are worried about the money. So we have to work with everybody.
The money don't buy service. No, the money don't buy service.
I
Attitude, it's capacitation, it's knowledge.
I can tell you that,
If we have money, it's going
that
to be easy.
I also respect your opinion. I can tell you that money does buy service. It has bought service for me for many years.
Yes,
Yes?
here.
Not here, all over, whenever I go.
Okay, I think that's
Anyway,
a question.
you have another question.
No, it was just, again, this is just a feeling that I want to share.
Sure.
Because I agree, and I agree also with you, some people want service.
Yeah.
But I think as a community, we need to kind of, maybe pause and kind of see where we are, what we need to do going forward.
Sure.
What it's gonna take, and if we have to give up some of that service, and do more ourselves, like I wouldn't mind going and picking up my packages rather than having somebody bring it to me. Maybe I don't need to have the guest towels all washed and nice, I can bring my own towel if I have get, I think as a community, we need to kind of just really make sure that we have a reasonable amount of service, and that those who want a lot of service then pay for it separately. But to spread it overall among everybody and have big increases in the budget, when we really need to concentrate, I think, a lot of resources in the project itself and making it a better building. I don't know, I just,
Well,
it's not a criticism, it's just a thought that we need
No,
to really
I think that
study the service level. and make
I
sure that
appreciate-
we're not expecting too much,
I
it's gonna
cer-
cost us too much.
I certainly appreciate your thoughts. There are many things when you live in a building this big and this old that had to be taken care of. So we had to look at everything where we put our money. We have, for many years, have no increase in our maintenance. So this is the first time that we're doing it, and it's because we have many projects and we also have needs. One of the comments that in discussing with the property manager, Mr. Mara was telling me, there's a person that sold 2 apartments, one person sold them, and then there are 8 new people, because each apartment was purchased by families that were 4 each. People that used to own their apartment and be here part-time only, because they live elsewhere, they're retiring and they're moving in and they're here 100% of the time. Now, everybody orders things in the internet for delivery rather than to go to the store to buy. So everybody receives things. That didn't happen maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So there are many needs and there are many people that live in this building that come from other countries, they're accustomed to having servants do everything for them, and when they pay $1 million for an apartment, they expect to have services. So we have to work with everybody. The people that are here are worried about the money, and we listen to that as well. So the budget is a compromise of all these different things. Yes, sir.
When you got this number, $750,000 for the replacement of the plumbing, did you have a discussion about I would like to make sure that you're watching this is our money, and that you're making sure that there have been bids on this, that this has been put out, that we don't have 3 bids as a top. We really don't need 3, we need 1, and we can let the person go, we can fire them if it's not satisfactory after 30 days. That's the kind of.
Let me just say the following. We have said that was a tentative number.
Have you discussed that
Oh, my God.
$750,000 with Mr. Navarro?
It's been discussed, but let me just reassure you that we will not spend any money without having the proper advice for experts. This was put in the budget because the situation with the flooding in the garage was found out at the end of the year. So let me just finish. Could I finish?
More about this than anybody here.
Fine, I think we.
Let me
The
finish.
consulting company that gave this report, my consultant, the sewer and water, groundwater expert for the town, told me that that's not gonna help at all.
Let me just ask you again, if you don't mind waiting till we have the open forum. We're talking about the budget now, and when
This is definitely a budgetary issue.
oh, I realize that, but we have the discussions on the technical aspects of this particular situation. We'll talk more when we get to the open forum. And there's a question back there. Yes.
It's just a question and a comment. Regarding hiring the additional employees, I think we have to be careful because healthcare costs are going up. And that'll, this is gonna just be a perpetual cycle of hiring more people. Maybe we should look, most of the employees are great, but maybe we should look towards employee productivity and see how to make them more productive. Because it bothers me to see employees on their cell phone or walking in tandem or walking slow. Like, the majority of them are great, but maybe these, throwing money at a problem doesn't always solve the problem, and that's what we tend to do. So I think maybe looking at hiring a consultant and see how we can look at the problem and see how to increase employee productivity.
And that's a good thought. I think that's something that we possibly should look into in the near future.
Oh, and I have a question on the same point.
Sure.
I know that Jorge is being moved to project manager. How many years is he gonna spend being a project manager? Are we gonna have projects for the next 5 years? Because that's not good for property values.
Well, we have several projects coming up in this near future. I'd say in the next 3 or 4 years, maybe 5. So when he's no longer needed in that position, I'm sure we'll change it to something else.
Or we'll reduce the number of people.
Yes, sir. Another question? Okay, then we're going to proceed to the adoption of the budget. So, do we have a motion?
Yes, I move that we adopt the budget for 2016 as presented and as mailed out to all the ownership.
Let's vote individually. Do you?
I agree.
Dr. Dominguez? Ms.
I
Soto?
agree.
And I agree as well. So it's being adopted.
The reserve report, because I was waiting to see that. Did you get that today? It's supposed to come in today.
I'm sorry?
The reserve analyst report?
I'm not sure that what we're talking about.
What's required? Where is your reserve report?
I gotta wait till George comes back, but we will come to it.
No, but this,
Did it come in today? It's supposed to
I don't know, I gotta wait for him.
How do you do a budget without reserve, without
We-
reviewing the reserve?
We have already reviewed last time, and we have already approved.
Review a budget without reviewing reserve?
We have reviewed it in the prior meeting, and we had adopted a reserve analysis as per the analyst recommendations. It came and it was discussed in the last meeting. If you're interested, you can read the minutes or you can see the tape.
that's why we asked if we can have the reserve, because when you send all this paperwork, there was, if you need more information about the reserve, ask me.
Well, request it and get it.
I did. It was supposed to come in today.
Okay, well, then if you have requested, you will get it. We normally have 5 days to respond.
Before you pass this budget. That's
Mrs. Allegra, you know very well that the,
sir, I don't, I can show you the
no, I say that you know well that to get documents, you can request them and you get it within 5 days.
When you voted on the number for the reserve, which is 1-2 rather than 1-9,
Yes.
I was told, I asked for the reserve analyst report, because with my understanding, an engineer was gonna go through all our mechanics and see how long the useful life of things would be. When I requested the report, which was the day after the last meeting, I was told I have to wait because they're redoing the report. I asked Laura last week, does that report come in? No, we're supposed to get it on Monday.
Okay, I don't know your conversation you have with Maria. Maybe George can address to that. George?
It's not, it's just, did you see it? Did you see?
I saw the report that was presented before we adopted the reserves. So I don't know whether that's the one you're referring to.
The one with the adjustments
What,
to
it-
reflect what you have adopted.
Ms. Allegra, are you referring to the detail reserve? That's the one that we have still not received. The detail is the one that shows the actual life, the expectancy of life, and the cost of each of and every item. And yes, we did have an engineer who walked that building not only for 1 day, but he was here for several days.
So my point is this, shouldn't they be fully informed and look at
But we are fully informed.
What the board members need to do is they have to focus on the next 3 or 5 years, which is what we have in our hands now. Okay, and the 25-year or the 30-year item is not a concern now. Once we get the final report, and the reason why we don't have this report, because this is the first time that we have this new company doing it. Otherwise, we would have it from prior years, because we have it from prior years from the other reserve analysts. But we do have it for every year.
Are the windows and elevators in the next report? Are we
No.
gonna pay double for them?
No.
The windows are not in the, on the,
Just say for 30 years from now.
it's not on the reserve analyst report, it's not.
But the elevators,
The elevators, yes, it is.
so that'll be,
Yes.
that's budgeted for 30 years,
Yes, yes,
or whatever it is.
yes. As soon as we get it, we will be able to give it to you. And it's a very thick file.
It's not your fault, I'm just.
No, no, I know that.
Fully informed when they make their decision.
Right, no.
No,
Once we get it, we make sure to give it to you.
it's a good question. We have reviewed the report for the analyst, and he have made 2 different recommendations. So we adopted the one that he recommended for less money to begin with and more for the future. The details of it, as Mr. Mara is referring to, he may have not written it yet, but we have had several meetings for this budget in reference to both the reserve and the budget. And and he's already been adopted.
And
So-
once that report comes in, it has to be reviewed to make sure that if there's any corrections, as maybe something may have the wrong life. For instance, I already know that there's a mistake on one item, which we already told him. I don't know if he's gonna be able to correct it, or we will wait until next year. Because for instance, the lights in the garage, he put in that he didn't know when they were installed. I do know when they were installed, so he has to correct that. So he could make sure he could put in the proper light into it. So I mean, there's gonna be minor corrections here and there, but it's not a major thing he did what he had to do, which was inspect each of the items, and he did a very thorough inspection of the building.
We're gonna finish the meeting with an open forum. And let me just say something before you address your question. Yeah, but could you please wait till I come to you? There were 2 items that I wanted to bring to the open forum to begin with. And one of the items is the elevators in Tower F, which I think maybe is in Tower D and C and some of the others. But I have been told that the elevators vibration that I still experience have been corrected, but that's not the case. I still get,
George, maybe you wanna address this?
When it first was brought up, it was brought up to the company that came and addressed the one elevator in Tower F. If it's doing it again, I'll have to let them know.
no, the 2 elevators in Tower F.
And I was in Tower D,
But they had
right, but also Tower D is a problem. But Tower D also is a problem.
Yeah, D number 2.
And
And
one
the-
in E too.
The 2 in the 2 elevators in F. Okay, so we would like to get a report from them, maybe in the December meeting, you can invite them to come and give us some explanation. And the other item, which is Dr. McGowan has been wanting to discuss, when Mrs. McGowan sent me an email in reference to what you have spoken with Mr. Lopez at Key Biscayne, I brought it to the attention of Mr. Maura, and he himself have met with him. So I wanted for him, before your comments, if he can give us a little bit of an explanation of the situation and what he discussed with Mr. Lopez.
As a matter of fact,
Lozoya,
You use the mic.
use the mic.
I went to the village, George, Marcelo, and myself, we went to the village probably at the beginning of, at the end of September, beginning of October, and we met with Mr. Lopez, who is an engineer. He works there part-time, and we spent quite a few hours with him. And at the end of our meeting, he came down here to the building, and I showed him the lower garage, as well as the French drains, the catch basins, and a few other things. When I was at his office, he brought up to our attention that there was 2 drains actually going over to the bay. One is a 48-inch pipe, which is right in front of the waterfall, and it goes all the way across to the other side of the street, which it has a state seal on it, which it means that when they went through the street, they had to get permission from the state in order to put in that drain there, because Crandon belongs to the state. The other drain that we have is further closest to the park, which is a 24-inch pipe. That pipe was investigated as well. That particular pipe, as far as we are concerned, is rainwater that comes from the roof and goes over to the bay. I went there, George and I went on the other side of the fence, and we went actually to the drain and see what type of water was coming out in that 24-inch. The water that was coming out there was water and sand. Why we were getting white sand, I don't know, because I don't know if the park has any connection from the park over to that drain. So we have our water from the roof is going out there, not from the garage. The water from the garage does not go out through that 24-inch pipe. I already know that as a fact. The 48-inch pipe, according to the city, up to this moment, today, they still don't know who does it belong to. And I asked him, why is it that you don't allow me to finish? I'm giving you the version that he gave me. According to him,
Allow him to finish.
the 48-inch pipe may have a Y that connects to the other building as well, and it may be dragging their way, some rainwater, or whatever type of water over to the bay, which is the area closest to the canal, which is right in front of our building. I met with the gentleman, and he went ahead and he gave me the number of the unnamed of a company who will do wells and a few other things, who will be able to put cameras through the pipes in order to determine what type of problem we would have. Once he came over, we went over some of the drains. And he looked at it, and he basically said the same thing, that we should have somewhere a backflow valve that would not allow water to come in, and that we could install 1 or 2 in order to prevent water coming in. Because the minute the water rises on the ocean, that water comes right back through the catch basins and goes into our garage. Because the water in the garage had the drains, and that drain had a place to go, which was to go outside. What has happened is that apparently the building had two backflow valves. One of them we found by 1111, and the other one we found inside the receiving department. Okay, those valves are in the open position. So that means that the minute that the water rises, it goes in through the 40-inch pipe, it goes in through the catch basins, and flows right back into the garage. By having the valves in the open position, which is how they were, water is going to go ahead and continue coming in, and when the water starts going down, then the water in the garage will start going down as well. It all depends which area will go down first based on which one is the highest point and the lowest point. So that's what basically happened, and that's what actually we experienced. When we went ahead and we contacted the company to clean the drains, we went ahead and we cleaned the drains in the garage, and we put in the camera. When we put in the camera, we noticed that almost all the pipe in the garage is completely corroded. Corroded in the sense that it has had a lot of salt water and it's 45 years old. And not because it's 45 years old and because it has had salt water, it's in bad condition, because we have the black water in the upper garage that we are getting ready to replace, and we have replaced every year for the past couple of years that are getting replaced. And if you go there, that is not buried under the ground and it's in bad condition. So no matter whether it was noticed or not noticed, the pipes need to be changed. Those pipes are 4 inches wide. They should be 6 inches, and they should be PVC in today's market reality. It should not be a cast iron pipe, because what it will do, it will make the sand or any dirt flow easier and out better than what we would have. The other thing is that we should be adding additional drains in the garage in order for the water to drain throughout the garage properly. When I spoke with Mr. Lopez, he says that as far as he was concerned, he didn't see that we had any wells in the building. We went ahead and he gave me some contacts that we will be able to see if we had wells. We contacted one of the companies who went into, I don't know what type of search, and they did do the search, and it came back that we do not have any wells in the building. If we would have wells, it would have made it easier. The money that has been allocated, it has been a projection. It has never been an estimate, or there has been any proposal, or 2 proposals, or 3 proposals, and that was stated today, and it was stated a couple of meetings ago, very clearly. We need to replace, at this moment, we need to replace some areas in the garage. There's 6 or 7 areas that the pipes are broken, and that's why when we have high tide, the water will not drain because it doesn't have a place to go, and it comes out there. And one of the areas is by the car wash, and the other one is behind the receiving department. And one is by Tower D all the way at the end. Those are the areas that we have to address because the pipe is corroded. It's broken, okay? That's one thing. The money that has been allocated based on the fact of replacing the entire pipes in the garage, including if we have to do wells and engineering costs. We do not have an exact number, whether it could be 300 or whether it could be 1,300,000. We do not know that. So, I mean, I just wanted everybody to understand.
Do you have a projected timing for when you will complete the analysis and be able to actually implement the solution?
At this moment, we are getting ready to hire an engineer in order to address the backflow that we need to install and repair temporarily the 6 areas where the water is not draining, where the pipes is cut.
So is that including the exit of
That is,
Tower 2?
I'm sorry?
For Tower 2, right? The exit of Tower 2, like where the garbage and stuff is? Like where you park, Martin, where I park? That's
Correct,
like
correct,
all the lake.
that area, yeah. It involves that area, yes.
Okay, Mr. McGowan.
I have a diagram here of the 48-inch, and it leads to a 36-inch, and it goes over to Grapevine Street. And so it includes property that there's a small pipe I see on the diagram, and I can show you this, that comes from maybe the tower tennis court area. What I need to know, and you need to know, is who's making the decisions that this piping needs to be replaced. Now, I'll remind you that Mr. Lopez said that he would be glad to consult for the board. He will be back from vacation on December 4th. He told me specifically, I asked him about the piping. He says that's not going to do anything. He said just put the backflow. He said it's going to preventer in the 24-inch pipe. It's going to be less than $20,000, and here we're talking $750,000. And have have you been over this with him? Have you asked him about who did this project? And who's gonna get
But,
the concrete?
Dr. McGowan, just,
Money gonna go to?
no, let's,
Ask him that?
let's say that that money was a number,
Island plumbing he's talking about.
yeah, let's just say that was a number that was.
Excuse me,
put there
are you making
tentatively.
an
We
assumption?
have just said it.
Are you making an assumption?
Heard Island plumbing last time?
You did?
Not?
No,
you
I
did
have no
not.
idea.
No, you did.
No, you could have not. You could have not because they would not be the one doing the
No,
job to
what-
begin with, because
what-
that has to be done by a commercial
No,
company.
Let me, Mr. Mara, let me just say something. The Island Plumbing may have been mentioned as to have asked a question, what would you think it would take to resolve this?
That's what we did.
And-
That's what we did.
Yeah.
A question.
But that's exactly what he's referring to. Yeah. Yeah. No, of course.
Get the bid,
No, of course.
job,
No,
I,
having a bid?
but,
no, that's
There's
not,
nobody's,
that's.
no one is gonna get a
no
job here.
suggestion of that.
Excuse me, I misunderstood. I thought that,
Definitely did.
I thought
You
that this
did.
was the company that you.
no, no, no,
No, it is
no. No, as a
not.
matter of fact, we want to use the reference that you've given us.
Yeah.
Uh,
Find out whether this is really necessary.
No, exactly.
It should be bid out by at least 3 companies.
It will
Oh,
be,
of
it
course.
will be.
But one of the things that I think will be interesting is to invite Mr. Lopez to come and address us here, and maybe everybody can listen up to what he has to say.
I will make sure to.
Yeah, and maybe we can invite him for the
Absolutely.
December meeting.
What a good idea.
I will.
And I think it was a very good suggestion that you have given us.
Mr. Lopez.
Right, he's coming back after,
The 4th. Oh, New Year.
January
No, 4th of December, he'll be back.
Ah, okay. So maybe we can invite him if he's at table to the next meeting in
I
December.
will.
Before you agree to this.
Of course.
This budget.
No, of course, and
No,
we
I'm
are,
sorry.
we're,
We've already- Budget's been approved.
we are appreciative of your recommendation. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Mrs.
Sarah.
McGowan, too. Yes,
Have we ever done any large project without 3 bids?
not that I'm aware of.
He talked about,
landscaping, $250,000, that's for me a large project.
That's not, it wasn't $250,000.
he talked about using one bid and you can let the other people go. You know,
170 some change. 170,000 and
Remember,
change.
they always had to have 3
And
bids.
you didn't have 100 and, how much?
179.
179, $179,000, and
Yes.
you had only 1 bid.
Yes.
108. I know that the law is for the 5% of the budget, I know that that's the law, but it's reasonable. You can negotiate if you have 3 bids, it's common sense. If
That's a
your house
minimum,
is,
that's a minimum.
is
No
getting
man-
money,
No
$180,000 for
property
you.
manager does.
Okay, well, I guess I was the first one.
It's part of the,
I guess I was the first one, Mr. McGowan.
No, the one that asked the question was Ms. Bacallao.
it's a free bid, it's the first rule.
But
No,
the
there
reason,
is no rule.
the reason for that,
No, there isn't.
It's a common sense rule.
No, there-
$180,000.
the reason for the landscaping is because we have been looking for some specialized company, and that company is the one that does all of the other buildings here.
We mentioned all that, Mr.
Yeah, I know that, but I reminded him of that.
I know that, but it's no common sense. You have to ask another bid so you can compare and say, you are too
Do we have any
high,
other-
okay, you are too low, you are too low, this is okay.
Okay,
It's reasonable, it's reasonable.
Let's not.
thank you very much. Any other questions or any other comments? Sure. Ms. Ramirez.
Briefing on what's going on with the window project.
I will be happy to do so. We have initially sent out for bids. We received bids, only 2 of which were within a range that we thought that the 2 lowest ones, they came here to present. One of the 2 companies that came, we felt really disappointed with what they did. And there was only one of the 2 that offer a good price that really we're happy with. But rather than to give the job to them, we decided that we wanted to see if we encourage some of the other people that bid to rebid and give us a better price. So we have asked them to do that. And we should have some responses on that project within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Are you going ahead with the window project when we have this garage problem that we should take care of first?
We are, the project for the windows was started much earlier than this thing that we discovered. And we are giving priority to the situation in the lower garage.
I think you better hold on the windows and see about the building so it doesn't crash.
I think that the crashing should be avoided by all means.
Yeah, because we're built on a concrete slab, and the exposure over a decade's worth of flooding in that garage probably has rotted some of the rebar and it caused spalling to the substructure. So there goes your values.
Yeah, we certainly need to take care of that project.
What I'm kind of alarmed about is that we've known that this, at least from what I've been told, is that we've known that the garage has been flooding for many, many years. And it took a couple of people just to, got sick and tired of getting their knees wet to going ahead, I mean, this is not something that should be overlooked.
No, I agree with you. And I think that for
I mean, this is, just, it's like, there was, was there, I'm not saying that there wasn't an effort to find out, but it seemed that this year was the first year we found out exactly how the mousetrap worked, how the floods work, how the floodgates work.
yeah, and I think this year the
Something that should have been, that's something that should have been addressed at the first time, at the first instance of flooding.
Well-
Because no architect designs a building to incur, to take on water.
one of the things that happened is that this particular year, was when we have a very large increase in the water. In prior years, it has been just
minimal.
very minimal. So
Even if it's minimal, the fact that you're seeing water, standing water in the garage, you know for a fact that the concrete and the substrate of the concrete is probably compromised. And we're built on a concrete slab. We're not built on pilings. This building's on a concrete slab. Think
yeah,
about that.
and I agree that we need to take care of that right away, and that's what we're trying to do.
And the biggest enemy of buildings in Florida is spalling. And we've had engineers come here and tell us that about our windows, and spalling should be addressed. Spalling needs to be addressed.
We should
What
have
do we have in this concrete, in our
core
foundation?
samples, core samples. You know how they do, they go through the, geologists use core machines, you just go down, check, see what's down there, and bring it up. Yeah, I have another question about the windows. I had heard mention that some of the companies had done other buildings, building here, building there. What other kinds of vetting, besides, the bottom line proposal that they were giving, what kind of references from people who live in these buildings, like we do here, can we have other condo residents? I don't know, but not just from knowing that they did that building over there. What was the result? How did it go?
No, I think that, are you talking about the Windows project?
Yeah, what kind of
No,
We have a concern.
I think that there were several items that go into the answer. First, we have hired a consultant to get the people that can do the job. And then, as I said, we received several responses, two of which were the cheapest. Before we give any contract out, we, of course, will have to check as much as we can as how each of those buildings that they did, how they performed. It's the same, in the same manner, let's say that if we take as an example the elevators. We have this company which is very reputable. They do elevators all over the world. We have checked all the buildings they've done, and everybody said they did very well. But in this particular case, we feel a little bit uneasy about recommending them because it's taking them so much longer to get things
When
accomplished.
you say that they said, who are, they said they did very well? Who are the they?
No, I cannot tell you the names now, but when we selected the people for the elevators, for instance, and they have done several buildings nearby in Brickell and different places. So we checked, some of us may know some people there, because sometimes in the same manner that you can talk to maybe the manager or the president of the association. He may have lived there at the time or not. So we try to reassure ourselves that it was a good company, the best we could. So, and the same thing we'll do with the windows, of course.
I guess I would want to know more about the experience of the people living there.
Okay, good. Thanks, Martin. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Maurer.
I want to address Mr. Allegra's issue on the garage. And I want to tell him as to why wasn't from me to go to the city on that issue. Last year, with the high tide here was quite high, and this year was even higher. I've been in this island 30 years, working in this island, and so has my wife. And the only two places that have actually flooded has been the towers, and some of you, as Mr. Flasher, an original owner, will know that this building has always flooded since they've been here. And Clarita, I don't know, I'm sorry? I'm sorry. So, when I worked at the bank back then, I had a lot of residents from here that bank at Jefferson Bank back then. And I used to come here and the garage used to get flooded. And the other place I used to get flooded was Key Colony. In Key Colony, I was the manager of Key Colony for 13 years. And we had wells in Key Colony, and the wells actually were clean. And currently now, they just recently had a problem. So I went ahead and I called the code enforcement, Mike Mila, at the village, and I asked him, you know, if the new place was still getting flooded and if things were getting as high as I was seeing it. And he was the actual person that actually recommended me to meet with Mr. Lopez at the city. And that's how I came about to know that we had 2 drains at the 48 and the 24 here.
And when was that?
The month of September.
That was this year?
Absolutely.
So you've been working here how many years?
13 years.
13 years, and it took you, and you said it's been flooding every year.
Because that has been always what I've been told.
And that's what you were told?
Absolutely.
By whom?
By everyone here.
Not the manager.
Excuse me?
Are you not the manager?
You don't need to scream at me,
Excuse
number
would you-
one.
Would you speak about his
Yes,
tone
I am.
of voice?
Okay,
Excuse me.
let's say,
Excuse me, Mr.
Excuse me.
Allegra.
You are not here to
Mr.
interrogate
Allegra.
me.
As the manager,
Just a minute.
did you investigate?
Excuse
cause
me.
and
Mr. Allegra, excuse me, we're not at a court of law.
Yeah,
So
that's
please-
number one.
Okay, but just address people with a tone of voice that doesn't sound accusatory, because we're here trying to do the best we can.
I'm hearing about a building that foundation has been compromised.
It has
I'm
not.
hearing about a manager that found out only this year what makes this clock tick. This is major.
No, it isn't.
Let me just say, I agree with you, I
You
agree
don't
with,
think this is major?
No, what, just a minute, let me point out.
Are you kidding me?
Excuse me, stop speaking like this, right? Good. Thank you.
I wanted to say that we try to treat everyone with respect, and we expect everyone to treat us and our employees with the same manner. So we want to address,
I don't think he was disrespectful personally.
I think that he was being very accusatory, and that's not the way to do it. We have found out that we have a problem, and we're trying to address it. What we did not do in the past cannot be done, because it hasn't, the past is gone, so.
No, but the issue here that makes people mad is that you say, what happened, happened. The same with everything is, I told you, many things that have problems. Say, let's fix it. But who is responsible for that? Who is going to respond for the actions?
I could tell you who might be responsible.
Wait, I'm talking to the board. So,
Go ahead.
I will answer the board.
No, no.
I will answer the board when you finish.
Mr. Maura, let him finish.
so if we cannot interrupt him, I want to talk.
Sure, go ahead.
So, there are many issues and you say, okay, let's see this, now forward. But there's a lot of issues here, and we have to solve the problem because it's going to be continuous, another problem, because it's the way we do things here. The way we do things here generates some problems. And that's what you're saying, okay, let's solve this, and it's good, but it's the first step. But the second step is look our experience and how we can do it better. And if what we did was wrong, who was responsible, who's not responsible, how we are not controlling not to happen again.
And I think that's right. We have to learn from our experiences. And that's exactly right. I've been here in this building for 10 years, living here, and I have been told that it was the tide. And this year, it was a combination of the tide and some of the problems that we have in the building. So now that we find that this is the problem, then we can address it and learn from the experience so it doesn't happen in the future.
If I may add something here,
And
Mr.
that's the only thing that I can respond. I realize that what you're saying is correct. We have to learn from our experiences and improve it. Mr.
If-
Morales,
yes.
you can go ahead.
Actually, if the prior managers that work in this building would do what I have done, which I have a Bible that gives a lot of details about this building and where things are, that would have never occurred. Because Peña, who has been here for 36 years, he was not even aware that we had a valve in the garage that had to be inspected. Neither did he knew or I knew. And the reason for that is because probably prior management never bothered to put anything in writing. But since I've been here, I put everything and as much as I can in writing, okay? So when we try to point the finger, we gotta be very careful as to who we point the finger to. Because it's, I'm just generalizing, I'm not saying, I'm just generalizing.
Let me say that he wasn't a kiss story. I think that the numbers are just starting to add up.
I understand.
And it's nauseating, and we still don't know what's gonna be the next year, and the next year, as a new owner, we're paying more in taxes, let me please finish. Higher purchase prices, we're paying for windows, we're paying for elevators, we're paying for this, it's all happening at once, and it's not, you don't make the decision on the budget, they do, or the past board has. And to me, it's not being managed well, not you, but you need to stagger these expenses and have some foresight. Again, not you, because they ultimately make the decisions. But I think that's where the anger is coming from. And everything's being kicked down the road. We don't get direct answers.
I think that anger is not a good word to use. I think that when we bought in this building, we knew that it was an old building, and you get some of the things that you expect from an older building. I realize that you may be angry, and the only thing that I can say of your anger is that we're trying the best we can. We don't know everything that is to be known. We're only people that live in this building that had volunteered their time to be on the board. And with that, we do the best we can. If you don't like it, you can vote for somebody else comes the next election and get somebody else here to make decisions for you.
Apologizing for him, I think that it wasn't directed or accused.
No, I'm only responding.
It's just like,
I think that the people that are angry, it's very easy. We live in a country in which we're not always in agreement with our government does, and we reflect that. We are a building which is like a mini world. In the same manner that you may like more the Democrats or the Republicans and you vote accordingly, you wait until the next election and you change it. And you can do that.
But you respect the rules and regulations.
And we try to, and we do the best we can, I say.
But the thing, the best you can.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. When I finish, I'll give you the word.
Also,
We try to do the best that we can with what we have in front of us. If you don't think so, we don't have any disagreement. I respect your opinion.
No, but
That's all there is to it.
Black or white, black or white. If you have the bylaws, if you have the rules and regulations, you have to follow that. It's not whatever you want, you can.
And I can tell you that
If you are representing the owners, you have to follow the rules.
and we do.
and we do, as I'm saying, we do the best we can. And I respect your opinion if you think that it's otherwise.
Ms.
And,
Allegra,
that's fine.
let me say one thing before. Just for the record, in 2003, we had concrete repairs in the garage, upper and lower garage and columns. And at that time, I was just coming in, and the garage and the columns were all inspected, and they were in excellent condition. Actually, in the lower garage, there was no repairs whatsoever that needed to be done. Actually, all the repairs were done in the upper garage, and I'd be more than glad to walk you through and point to you the areas in which the concrete was replaced in the upper garage. The lower garage was never with any problem whatsoever, and that was in 2003, okay? Almost 40 years since this building has been flooded every day, because this building has not been flooded for the past 10 or 13 or 14 years.
the issue is that when the auditor was here, he's like, oh, we have plenty of reserve money, and that's not the case.
Okay, you have a comment.
I have lived here a long time, and I remember the times, I think this building is very well neighbors that have commented to the customers that this building is very well kept. I remember years ago, I was in the board before Joe Maurer came. I remember when they could never change the little red lights at the top of the roof because that was impossible. A plane could come and hit you. Yes, but we could not change those lights. Joe came and he changed them. I remember when the bathrooms smelled terrible and they couldn't fix them. What did they do? Buy flowers that gave smell. Smelled good, so you couldn't smell it. Joe Maurer came and fixed them. Everybody can make a mistake. Nobody is perfect. But I think this building is very well kept.
Excuse me, there's a question here, and then you go afterwards. Yeah, let's say here.
I just want to say that my family has been here in this building in Tower B since 1978. And I personally have been able to track how the water has flowed into the garage over those years until today. And now I'm the sole owner of my particular unit. Last year was the first year that I can remember that we've had major flood problems. And I think that once management has seen that there were major flood problems, they moved to fix it. So I think that there's a lot of motion here, but there's no facts. And I'm personally very disturbed that the board time is being used in this way to address problems of particular owners who seem to think that management is not moving to address these issues, and they have. So we're moving, we recognize that there's a problem now in the garage that's very serious, that has to be addressed. It's a relatively recent problem, and this hysteria that I hear about slabs and rebar being it's very serious, but this is a relatively recent problem. And I think that the board is moving responsibly to deal with this issue, and I think we ought to stop this emotional appeal and start dealing with facts.
Thank you very much. Okay, there's another question back there.
I just want to make a comment. I understand how it feels to be new moving in, and find all of a sudden you're facing a very high expense. We moved here 13 years ago, and it was really a reach for us to come into this building. And I remember the renovation of the lobbies and how horrible they were, and now how beautiful it is. And people come and they look at this building and they say, wow, this is great. The reality is the building's 40 years old. We need new windows. They far exceeded the use that they have. We needed new elevators. They far exceeded their use. And it's only to our benefit that we put the money out. And I'm sorry for anybody new coming in. We all have an expense. We're all going to have this assessment. And I know it seems like you're being hit with a big bill when you move in. I'm just addressing anybody who's moving in now. But it's only to the benefit of us as property owners that we go ahead, and coincidentally, all of these things are aging at the same time. So it's not like you can necessarily put them off for 5 more years.
Thank you.
Could you let that
Wait,
gentleman?
there's another question back there.
Yes. One comment and one question. One is
We don't hear you.
in the second garage. There are a hole in the garage, and when it was flooded, all the bubbles came from this hole. So maybe there are more pipes that are broken. I'm not sure. I don't engineer. The second thing is coming back to the people who is going to hire you, who is in the budget. I am agree with that part. Really, I prefer to live in a place where I'm a king during the whole year instead of being king 1 week or 2 weeks when I go to the hotel on vacations. But what really, not mad, made me feel bad today is today meetings looks like the country I'm from, Argentina. Yes, unfortunately, because people talk or yell or whatever you want, but they don't change the posture, they change the ideas. there are people here that think different. I don't agree with them, but they think different. But you didn't try to find one point in the middle with them. You say, okay, we are going to go with the budget and that's it. I don't know why you don't sit with them. I don't know how many people say, I agree with all this hiring, and how many people disagree with that. But you didn't sit or say, okay, we are going to review this point. You approve everything without taking care of what they say. And
We did a
unfortunately,
previous budget meeting.
this feel like in Argentina and not here in the United States.
Thank you for your comment. Let me just address what you've said. The budget, we have discussed budget in a prior meeting, and it was mailed to all the owners. So they had it for the last 2 weeks. I don't know if you have received it. And the budget is based on the needs according to what the management of the building proposes that they need to do next year. So they're in the best position to decide what we need to have as expenses. So the board reviews, and every single member of the board have reviewed and have discussed the budget and have thought that what it was required, what they were asking was reasonable and required. So we have different opinions. There are some people here that are angry and other people that are very happy. So we have the whole spectrum of people with needs. So we're happy to talk to anyone. And we're always open. We have these meetings on a monthly basis, and we talk about things. But the thing that we cannot do is, because one person is in disagreement with what is done, is to say, we're going to do it your way. That's for sure.
I came from the management. I'm manager. I have a company. And I know every time I present something, it's not going to be the same way, because there are two parties, not one. So we always try to go to a win-win situation, not black or white, because there is no black or white. So I don't know how many people, could you please tell me how many people want hiring people and how many people doesn't want? So maybe if there are 2 against, I don't know, 500, I understand you. But if there are 40% or 50% that agree and 50% that doesn't agree, maybe we have to find one solution in the middle.
Well, I can tell you, I'm just going to give you my experience as being a member of the board. I can tell you that there an overwhelming majority of the people that live in this building that are happy with the property management that we have. And there are few that are not. So, no, I'm answering your question. So when we, the board, reviews the budget and the needs that are for the next year, and we agree with it is in the budget, then we approve it. That's the way that it happened.
Sorry, I'm not talking about the manager.
No, but essentially, the budget is created by the management, because that's what we need.
I'm talking about one specific point. No, I have.
Maybe I'm not understanding your question.
I think what he's saying is that maybe we should have known how many people were in favor of hiring so many employees, how many people were not in favor of hiring so many employees. And in order for but I'm going to give you the answer. In order for you to do that, that's very hard, because in order for you to do what you just said, you would have to have the 538 unit owners here present, and we need to get a vote who's in favor and who's not in favor. And the bottom line is, the building is run by a manager who actually reports to the board. And if the building manager feels that there's a need for X amount of employee, it must be a reason as to why I'm saying that I need the employees. Because I will tell you this, for many years, actually when I came in here, we had over 50-some employees, and we reduced it back then, because at that time, we used to have actually in the receiving department, we had 3 employees, which I knew that at that time we didn't need 3 employees, and it was reduced. And for that, everywhere else, we reduce a bunch of employees. And the time has come that we needed to add additional employees. Do you think that I want to add additional employees? Do you think that I would not look better if I didn't have to increase the budget? Of course, it would look better for me. But I have to be realistic and tell you the truth. We can no longer function with what we have, because we have more vehicles, we have more residents, more of use of everything. So it becomes
a very hard thing to do. We can no longer get an employee from here and get it to over there, and from there get it to over here, because it just doesn't work. So, I mean, that's the difference between a condo and a company that you probably do run and the way that you do it. Because in here, if you listen to the 538 owners in reference to what they want and how they want it, then it will be a totally different story.
Let me just, excuse me, let me just finish with him. Excuse me, let me just ask you, are we not understanding what you're saying, or are we responding something that you haven't said? Because maybe we're misunderstanding each other.
No.
Wait a minute, excuse me. Let's finish with him and then you go.
I'll ask Mr. Morrow.
No.
This gentleman has the floor.
Yeah.
No, here, I feel that everybody is talking like it's a sensation of. It's a sensation of, I need people. I agree with, again, I agree with hiring people. This is not what my concern. My concern is here is like, it's split in two bands. It's not a band, but two different opinions. And if I count here, if half of the people agree and half of the people disagree in this particular point. So if I thinking that this is the representative of the whole building, half of the people think that we have to hire people, and half of the people say, no, we don't have to hire people.
No.
So this is why what I asking you.
Yeah.
You
No,
asked before,
and I tell you that the people that are here are people that always come because they're interested in or have a problem that they want to discuss, do not represent the whole of the building. Okay, Dr. McCowan.
Mr. Morrow and I had a meeting about 2 years ago,
Excuse me, one at a time, please.
and his comment was that the people just don't care. Most people just don't get involved, they don't care, right? Remember you said that?
I don't remember that, you might be right.
I might be right, you don't remember. Okay, I remember quite well. The fact is that we have the board being voted by proxies.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
A lot of proxies are
No.
going into the voting on the board.
No, that's not, no.
That's what the meeting will be. That's who represents you at the meeting that never has enough people.
Well,
No, the people that vote, they have to vote themselves.
That's a misunderstanding on my part. I have one final question. Is that $750 million in our budget today? Have you all passed that?
No, this is part of the reserves. And it was just a number that we put there to see how much we will need to use.
So it is in the reserves. I mean, it's in the
It is
budget.
It's in the reserves.
The budget includes reserves and
In
operating.
other words,
It's a placeholder.
everything has been done in terms of your opinion and your judgment and your vote to use that money.
No.
No.
No, but that's not the case.
The Senate decide in case it's needed.
That's what reserves are. Reserves are set aside. They're not, we're not voting to say we're going to spend that money that way. We're saying,
You're voting to set it aside when the sewer and water, stormwater says the pipes are not necessary.
All right,
All
well-
we need are the back.
Exactly, we don't spend it then.
in that case, we won't do it.
We got a cheap solution to this problem. I'd like to see that tried before you spend,
Absolutely.
justify, and agree to the
Nope.
use of $100.
And,
Fine, we will.
and you are absolutely right.
Yes.
Wait, one at a time. You were next, Mr. Reed.
The building was cracking, the floor was cracking between the A tower and the B tower. Joe, you're aware of that, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. So,
When the other manager was here, it was Tony. The floor cracked after they laid the marble down.
yes, I remember now.
All right? And my husband went, who is a civil engineer, and he been a civil engineer all his life.
Excuse me, we don't hear you. Could you give her my microphone?
My husband is a civil engineer, had his own company, a very large company. He went and examined that crack. I think, Joe, you know about that, did you? All right. And he said to Tony that we need some engineers here, that this building need to be addressed
because the foundation, something is going on underneath there. Nobody paid attention to it. You know what they did? They put a piece of strip. I don't know what is that, like aluminum strip to hold where the crack was. And you saw it. It's right there. Anybody could see that something was going on with this building years ago. Now, I am a late swimmer at night. I go to the beach at 7. One night, I was going to the beach, and the water was spouting up from the ground, hitting the ceiling. So I told Marcelo about it the next day, and he said, yes, Mrs. Reep, we all know about that. That's been happening a long time now. Why all this took so long to be addressed that we all clog up and everything is backing up here? Why? Why? Give me some answers.
I will address the issue where the expansion joint is at. Actually, before we remodel the lobbies, that used to have a carpet. So the building, that's where the building A, B, and C, actually where A and B connects. And the building does move. And at that time, when we went ahead and to put that tile, we were not supposed to put tile all the way up to that area. We had a medallion. But the board went ahead and decided to put that tile all the way further up. We knew that there was an expansion joint there, and we knew the possibility that the tile was going to crack. Eventually, a few months later, that tile cracked, and we went ahead and installed an expansion joint, which is what is there now. So it was not something that that the building is cracking. The building is not cracking.
Okay, Ms. Bagayao.
I want to know something different. Are we having a Christmas dinner this year, and are we having a holiday fund for the employees? I haven't seen a word yet.
The holiday fund, I think it will be,
We haven't put any things yet. We haven't.
I'm sure we'll have the holiday fund, yeah.
How about the Christmas dinner?
For the employees or for,
us?
oh, I don't know. Do we have a Christmas dinner with the restaurant or not?
I have no idea.
With the,
Elsa?
We said this year for 22 years. We've always
well,
had
we'll discuss it with the restaurant and I'll answer it as soon as I know.
Tentatively is for December 14, but.
Oh, is it for December 14th?
Yeah.
Oh, but they have not announced it yet.
No.
Okay, Dr. Dominguez knows that it's gonna be December 14th.
Great.
This is a dinner, a dinner that is for the residents, but everybody pays whatever amount.
I'm not going to get it.
Always a special price.
Yeah, what, is that, are we finished with your question? Okay, Mr. Somblat.
Yes, you do. Sebastian, for talking what he was asking.
Who's Sebastian?
Sebastian is
Oh, I'm sorry.
is that guy. That the experience I have in other buildings is that as owners, we participate in the committees. We go in a budget committee, and whoever is interested can go and help. And it's a good help for all the board. The board has several committees, and the committees specialize in some things and tries to select the owners that are knowledgeable in that area. For example, an engineer for that will be great. The passion that an engineer and an owner can put there is amazing. And in the budget should be the same. And you receive letter of invitation for the budget committee 4 months earlier than the budget approval. And that is, it's a good idea to implement and to really, for next year, start inviting all the owners to participate in committees.
Well, as you know, your wife belongs to the budget committee.
But then there are no meetings.
Okay.
There are no meetings.
The last meeting we had, it was the finance committee. It was like, I believe, 6 or 8 months ago, and they said that we would gather to do this, the budget and something. I was not invited, at least.
No, I don't, I think that the chairman of the committee is the treasurer, and we have a new treasurer, maybe
And a couple more questions is the electronic voting for.
Yeah, and we're going to, we have consulted with our attorneys on that, and he's given us a response. And in the meeting that we're having in December, which will be earlier because of the Christmas and Hanukkah and all these other holidays, We're going to talk about elections procedures, term limits, and electronic voting.
Oh, that's good.
So we'll have that, because I have, I think, in the last meeting, I said, I promised that that will be in the future meeting. So we'll discuss that. And the information that I have received preliminarily from our attorney is that it's so new, it just happened to be approved, that the mechanics of it is being worked out. So we'll give a full report from that.
There's implemented. It's software and it's cheap.
No, as I said, we're looking into it, and we'll present what we have in the next, it's going to be in the next meeting.
And
No, we're selecting it. It will be sometime in the earlier part of the month. But we had to see how the board members' commitments. December is very difficult for everybody, so.
I am just asking Mr. Joe Mora about our Christmas party, and he's telling me he's not going to get involved. So what's going to be with the residents?
Well, maybe Dr. Dominguez can address that.
Ms. Rosenblum and I were taking care of it.
What's that?
It's gonna be December 14, but it's not defined yet, the menu and all that.
Is that
Judy
for
Rosen,
residents? Is that for the residents?
yes, well,
December 14th?
holiday resident party. I was originally set.
That's good. We'll go to that.
December 14th is what we're told by Dr. Dominguez is going to be the holiday at the restaurant.
That's a Monday, correct?
Yes.
Ms. Magawan.
Thank you. You know, we're doing this renovation right now and things are pretty upside down, so we decided to move out to the Silver Sands Hotel
Oh,
down the street.
you mean you, Dr. McGowan?
Yeah.
Oh,
For a few days.
oh, okay.
You know, so I was walking down the beach and I went by the Oceana and then I went by the Grand Bay and I went by the Ocean Club and the the Sands and I went by the Casa Belmont. My point is, I got a notice last year sometime that if we stored the beach chairs close to the beach or on the beach to the edge, there would be some sort of a fine. So I was very astonished to find each one of these buildings had piles and piles and piles of beach chairs stacked up like we used to, right there. So, yes, it's difficult to bring that big stack of chairs from here down to there, or even if a resident wants to just pick up their own chair, which I find a little bit easier to do than hunt around for somebody to do it. I don't understand why all these other buildings are doing that and we can't.
You can answer that, Mr. Mara? Okay, go ahead.
Actually, if you call the code enforcement, he will tell you that they're all getting a daily fine, and we are not. We follow what the rules are. And at this point, all chairs have to be behind the dunes. They are not complying with what they're supposed to. We are the only one doing so.
How much is the fine?
I have no idea because it does not apply to us. But if you want to, you could call Mike Mila, the code enforcement, and he could actually enhance you on the details.
Yeah.
They don't seem to really care.
Maybe they don't, but I do.
Okay, you have a quick,
That's one, the other two estimates for the audit, you have any news?
we haven't gotten it yet. No, we haven't gotten it yet
For the what?
for the forensic audit.
That was turned down by the board.
No, it was not, it did not pass.
But what we said at the time that after we reviewed the,
Oh, you guys will have to bring it up again.
yeah, we'll bring it up
It's not-
again.
There's not an allocation in the budget for the forensic audit. It could still be done, the board could still approve it, but there was not a line item called forensic audit.
But last
When we spoke about, let me just address that. In the last meeting, the board voted against doing it. Mrs. Owen suggested to wait until the new accounting, the company that's doing our accounting reviews our procedures to go back to the forensic audit. And I said, once that's done, we'll go back and present it again to the board. Any other questions?
Just two quick questions. Are we having, in the past 5 years, have we had any major security issues in the building that we should be aware of? I know the paddle boards were stolen and things like that, but is there anything that has been major?
I don't know, have we?
We had at one time, we had a unit, the door of a unit that was broken. We have, I think we have 2 people that actually committed suicide in the building. One lady, a kid jumped off the balcony.
But in terms of security,
Before, was that a forced entry and a
Yes,
robbery as well?
yes, yeah, it was only one guy living there. He had just stepped out, and actually a neighbor reported to the office, and we went there, we called him, nothing was taken. It was kind of weird.
When was that?
Over a year ago.
So just that one incident and everything's been?
yes.
I mean, if you want to, send me an email and I will try to go back and see the reports, major.
But there really isn't, I mean,
Right.
this has been a
A
very,
bicycle stolen.
exactly,
And
that
someone
kind of.
might have reported a vehicle stolen, but it was a repossession of a vehicle, it was not actually stolen.
And then my other question is, this is just an observation. I walked through the garage a couple days ago, and it was a day that it wasn't raining. I noticed a lot of water coming through, like, the ceiling of the upper garage.
Expansion joints, that's going to be addressed. That's the,
It's just a lot, though.
that's the expansion joint. Mainly you will see it when you will see it when the building A, B, and C meets with D, E, and F. Actually, it's a straight line, and we have other corners that are going to be addressed already.
And in some cases, it comes down through the light fixtures as well.
Through electricity, I don't know if they're wired or.
Through, sometimes you may get it through a planter.
It's a ton, so I wonder, is that budgeted or that?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
Yes.
be aware of that.
Yes, that is in the budget.
Okay, so the open for, you have the final question or comment?
Carmen has a question.
Yeah, quick question. Do we still have any dogs in the building?
No,
Yes, we do.
Nobody has a dog?
no, I mean, nobody's supposed to have a dog. Only service dogs are allowed. If you see a dog, it's possibly somebody that has a permit from their doctor too.
Yeah, we have two.
The grandfathering of the dogs expired, nobody has any more dogs.
That was back in 1975.
Yes, exactly. I
Okay.
move that we adjourn the meeting.
I just wanted for the record, I have an issue with noise in my apartment, substantial, and I'm gonna be.
Construction noise or what kind of
No,
noise?
I think the apartment above from me is a carpeted apartment. It has a carpet. So what I want is to set for the record that I want to sit down with the management, and I'm trying to schedule an appointment with Mrs. Norma Bloom to review what the requirements are of the building in terms of the carpeting and the padding. I don't think it's very clear. I don't know if they're being followed, but just wanted to put it there because I think we need to review.
Can I just ask you a question? The issue that you have with noise comes from the apartment upstairs, above from you, or you don't know?
I think so, but
Oh, okay,
we're trying to determine.
okay,
I am in
All
default.
right.
thank you.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
And we, all in favor? Yes.
Right.
I really need to know whether everything has been done with regards to this $750 million in